It's been 6 months since the launch of Prime Time Harpist, so I thought this would be a good time to give you an update on everything that's going on. There's a lot to talk about, so I hope you'll stay till the very end. 5.5 years ago in 2020, I created my YouTube channel, and at the time I called it Kathy Lowe Harpist. At the time, I thought it would just be a way for me to keep track as a new harpist of the music I was learning. And also, since everything had shut down during COVID, I thought that other people might enjoy hearing the music. I figured my friends and family and a few harpists that I knew from online communities that I belonged to might subscribe. So I was very surprised that by 6 months ago, I noticed I'd collected over 600 subscribers, which kind of really blew my mind. I had no idea that that many people would subscribe just to listen to me play my harp. And that's all that was really on that channel. There were a couple of times I did live streams and I did some talking, but almost all the videos were just pieces that I had learned to play. I enjoy technology, and I enjoyed the process of recording and editing the videos, mainly the editing process. The recording part could be quite painful and arduous because I needed to redo things so many times. That hasn't really improved very much. But I do enjoy learning about how to share on YouTube. And I was really curious about what YouTubers do, how they get subscribers. And so I started doing a little research about that. And I was kind of fascinated with the whole thing. I wasn't looking to make a lot of money. I just wanted to find out if I could change some things to catch more people's interest. I looked at my analytics in YouTube and I found out that almost 100% of my subscribers were over age 60. So I knew I had a niche of people that were learning to play the harp as older adults. So I thought I could talk about that and share the things I've learned and the resources I've found to help out other people who are just beginning and those who might want to share what they've learned along the way as well. So I decided last February, about 6 months ago, to change the focus of the YouTube channel, and also I decided to call it Prime Time Harpist. I watched my membership grow. I was curious to see if I could hit 1,000 subscribers. Well, as of my taping of this, I'm very close and maybe even have reached it by now, because this will be a live video in a couple of weeks from now. So, as I said, I thought this was a great time to update you. You may have noticed that my harp family has grown, and I have things to talk about that. But let me talk about some other things that have been going on. This past July turned out to be a really busy month for me. And I wanted to talk about a couple of things that I did that month and maybe show you some photos too. So the beginning of July, I went on a cruise, and it was to the Canadian maritime provinces, including Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland, and some small islands that are French territories up in that area. One of the reasons I really wanted to take that particular cruise was because one of the stops was on Prince Edward Island, and there I knew I could visit the Anne of Green Gables historic site. I was a fan of the book and also a fan of a mini-series that came out on television back in 1985. I stumbled upon an arrangement by Hannah Flowers of the theme from that miniseries, and it was so pretty. I decided I would learn it and record it. And I've already shared that with you subscribers here on the channel, but I will also put a link to that video. I was pleased with how it came out. When I made it, I hadn't yet been there. So the pictures I inserted in the video came from the website of the Green Gables Historic Site. So that was one thing I did that I really enjoyed, and I did have a great time visiting there. I was gone there for about 2 weeks, so about the first half of July I was gone, and then I came home for 2 or 3 days, did a load of laundry, packed my suitcase, and headed with one of my harp friends by car down to Princeton, New Jersey, where the Somerset Folk Harp Festival was taking place. I had heard a lot about the festival, heard it was really great. Last year, I did register for online access to all the presentations of the festival, and I could see the rich offerings and the variety of offerings and musicians and music. So I decided I would like to actually go in person, and it was a wonderful experience. I'm going to leave you with some photos as I'm talking about the program. This was the 25th anniversary of the Folk Harp Festival. And so they used a 1920s theme with the artwork on their program and all of their materials. And it was really lovely artwork. And they also one evening had a party after all the day's events were over. They had a 1920s party, and it was a costume party. We had a great time at that, and a lot of people came in costumes, including me and my friend Mary, who traveled down there with me. So that was a wonderful experience, and I've since returned home and am trying to catch up with normal life. But you may have guessed, while I was there, I came home with something new, and that's that harp right in the middle. One of the workshops I went to was on double-strung harps with Karen Peterson. And I had gone to the festival with thoughts of perhaps looking into getting a double-strung harp. I've heard them, they sound so beautiful. I've never had a chance to play one. But the first workshop I went to was Karen Peterson's workshop about Ask Me Anything About the Double-Strung Harp. She not only talked about it and gave some tips about how you learn to play it, but she also had one of the vendors in the hall had brought up many of their double strungs that we could try. And Karen has just published a book on the double-strung harp about learning to play from beginning, the very beginning. And I have a copy of that book now too. But one of the harps, one of the companies that brought their harps to the festival, and there were many harp makers there, so many harps. The exhibit hall was just overwhelming with harps. Stony End Harps brought a collection of harps, including double strungs. And I have an affinity for them because my very, very first harp that my daughter-in-law gave to me to get me started was a Stony End. It was a small harp, and I started learning on that one. So one of the reasons I decided to get a Stony End this time was one of the events they have at the festival is called a harp tasting. How it works is all the vendors who want to participate bring one or more of their harps. And then there are two harpists who volunteer to play those for us. But the fun part is we have to have our backs to them. So one harpist will start on harp number 1 and play a short passage, and then the other harpist will also play a short passage on harp number 1. And while we listen, and they both will choose different styles of music, so we get a pretty good sense of how they sound. While we listen, we take notes on how it sounds to us. and ultimately we choose our first pick. The one that I liked the best was a Stony End. It was Prairie Song was the model of it, and it was a 26, I think, string harp. So I loved the sound of that one. And after the harp tasting, I went back to the exhibit hall to try it, which I did, and I liked it. But I spotted this other harp there, and it was a little different. It had 29 strings, so a little bit more range, and it had a beautiful inlay or painting actually on the soundboard that I'll show you right here. The sound of this harp really captivated me, and I decided to bring it home. I've only been home a few days. I've tuned it, and I've been busy with other things. I produced another video for you that has gone up before this one of my arrangement of Both Sides Now. That was based on one that Carrie Tollett did, but I wanted to make some changes. I made up a new intro for it. I listened to the recordings of Judy Collins singing it, and I also listened to an arrangement done by Anne Crosby Gaudette, and I sort of put together what Heather Downey calls a monster arrangement. I took little ideas from all of these plus my own ideas and made it into a new arrangement. So Both Sides Now, if you haven't heard it already, I shall also provide the link down below, and you can take a listen to that. So I've been busy doing that and other things, just catching up again on my life. But I haven't actually played the double strung yet, or started to play it, until I got these other things out of the way. So now here we are. This is pretty much what's been going on lately in my life. But I'm starting to wonder now that I've hit this point, reached my goal of subscribers. What am I going to do next? Am I going to continue? Am I going to make some changes? So part of my goal here in making this video is to talk about things I've done along the way that I've implemented, and ask you what you've enjoyed the most, what you look at and listen to the most on this channel. And I've also got to do some assessment of my time. I ultimately came up with a schedule where I would post one short every Monday. I learned that shorts attract a lot of viewers and also a few subscribers. People really like shorts, even though I myself don't particularly care for them. I like to hear a whole piece of music or somebody's whole video. But anyway, I tried it because I heard that shorts are the latest and greatest. So I've started doing shorts. I can't possibly come up with a new piece of music every month for you to play. So I started posting some reprises of my older videos that you might not have seen from, back when I started. So those have been going up once a month. And then I try to do one of these, what I call talking videos. I take a topic that I've thought about that I think you might learn from and be interested in, and I talk to you about that. And I provide links to resources that are related to that. I haven't run out of ideas, and new ideas keep cropping up. As a matter of fact, I was thinking my next video might be about playing the harp without pain. I've recently really gotten serious about getting my body ready to practice after listening to several experts on the matter, that we shouldn't just sit down and play. We should do some warm-up, short warm-up exercises, not for a long time, but a few, just to get our hands and arms and just get our bodies ready, and then do some breathing and concentrating too, and get our minds ready. So anyway, I got interested in that. I did some research on it, and I was all set to talk about it. And along the way, back in March, I had been playing at my church and rehearsing and bringing my harp back and forth. And all of a sudden, I had my right arm was starting to get sore. And I just figured I had strained a muscle, loading up the harp, carrying it in and out of the car and all that stuff. But the pain persisted to the point where it was really painful. It was interrupting my sleep, and I was losing my range of motion. Fortunately, it didn't affect me when I played the harp, but it affected me trying to lift things, trying to move my hands in different directions. I couldn't reach behind my back. I couldn't reach very high. So, of course, I talked to my doctor, who suggested I get an x-ray, which I did, and found out that I have arthritis starting up in this shoulder. Anyway, I thought might have done my next talking video about that. But then I had another idea, and I thought maybe it'd be interested for me to compare a live performance of a piece with the one I've recorded here at home and tried to get as perfect as I can. I thought that, you might relate to the fact that things don't go perfectly no matter how hard you prepare, how much you prepare. So I'm thinking that'll be the next one. And that'll take me up with my shorts and my reprises and this video here. So now I guess it's time for me to pause and really, like I said, reassess where I want to go and how much time I want to spend. So I don't know what's coming up after the end of August, but you can help me with that and let me know the formats that you've enjoyed, topics that I haven't covered that you might want me to cover. One person suggested when I do these talking videos to also include a piece of music and talk about why I chose that. So today I talked about Anne of Green Gables, and I did make a short of it that I will include here. So let me know if you would like to have some music included with these talking videos. I did that in the very beginning, but I was thinking the videos were getting too long, and I can tell by looking at the analytics, they tell you what the watch time is for each video. It's rare anybody watches a video, 100% of it. So I was wondering if that's even worthwhile. So I could put a short at the end, I could put a whole piece at the end, but I do have all my other pieces already on this channel. And so I hope I have created a lot of different playlists, and I always put a link to one of them at the end of everything I do. So if it's a topic you're interested in, or a type of music that you like, a style of music, or music for a certain occasion of the year. I've got different holidays. If you would like to find other pieces by different composers and arrangers, I have playlists for those I've recorded frequently. So take a look at my playlists. Take a look at the shorts if you're interested, and give it some thought and give me some feedback. One other thing I have to say about Somerset that really delighted me and surprised me. I met one of our subscribers. It was Margaret, who turns out to be from Massachusetts like I am. I hope she doesn't mind. I'm going to put her picture in right here. But after Margaret came up and said, I subscribe to your YouTube channel, and I almost fell on the floor with surprise. And I was so excited to hear this. I had a few other people during the course of the conference also come up and introduce themselves to me as subscribers. I don't remember everybody's name, so I'm not even going to try. Forgive me if I don't remember your name. You know who you are, and anybody I met at Somerset, it was a delight. I also want to say the concerts at Somerset were amazing. There were so many great harpists there, and they also did workshops. Again, I'll put a link to their program. I showed some photos earlier, but think about going, even if you only go once. And one more thing I forgot to talk about that I did was there was an ensemble piece, and we performed that at the closing concert of the festival, and that was really fun. So lots of things that have happened in my life because of playing the harp. I love the instrument. Can you tell? And it's really started. It started out as a fantasy that turned into reality and a hobby, and then onto YouTube, and it's just grown and grown. So thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Let me know where you'd like me to go next. And keep up your work with the harp. Remember, this is your prime of life, the best time to take on something new and something fulfilling for you and people who listen to you. Happy harping.